For this portion of our running record topics, we will be talking about determining the error rate, accuracy rate, and self-correction rate, which will be slides 7 through 10. You will also need to download calculation and conversion table, so you have that to reference as we go through our explanation on how to do all this mathematical calculation. So let's get started with determining the error rate. The error rate is the ratio of the number of errors made to the total number of words in the sample text. First, count the errors the child made while reading. In our previous lecture, we determined what constitutes an error, so those are the errors that you're going to count. Next, count the total number of words in the text. If you are using a predetermined or scripted page already, it's going to have the total number of words already identified for you on that scripted page. Otherwise, you need to count those words. Then divide the total words by the number of errors. So here it is right here. Our formula, the total number of words are divided by the total number of words in the passage. The answer is also rounded to the nearest whole number. The child here had made 6 errors. However, there were 62 total words in the passage. 6 divided into 62 is 10.3, and we're going to divide that to the nearest whole number, giving us our ratio of 1 in 10. The error rate is 1 in 10. The child made 1 error for every 10 words read. Or we can say this means that for each error made, the student read approximately 10 words correctly. So keep this in mind, the 1 in 10, because we're going to need it for our next slide. In determining the accuracy rate, we are going to use this table here to help us identify what the accuracy rate is, but we also need to have the error rate before we do so. If you can take a look at this, we have 2 columns, the error rate column and the accuracy rate column. As we said before, our error rate was 1 in 10. So we locate the predetermined error rate on the conversion table. It is important to note here, if the error rate is not on the chart, move down to the next number. But here it falls beautifully for us because our error rate is 1 in 10. So what we do is we're going to go all the way across, and using our error rate, we've now discovered what our accuracy rate is, 90%. Let's take a quick look right over here. Sorry, here we go. Hope I'm not making you so dizzy. We take a look at our criteria, what constitutes independent, instructional, and frustration. And we already said that the 1 in 10 error rate gave us 90% accuracy. 90 to 94% range is the instructional range. Therefore, according to our calculations that we just did, this particular passage our student read is instructional for the student. Here is another way to determine accuracy rate. It's probably the one that you're most familiar with. Accuracy is defined as the percentage of a text that the child read correctly. So you used to determine if a selection is independent, instructional, frustration of their reading level. Divide the number of words read correctly by the total number of words in the sample. So let's take a look at what we're saying here. There were 62 words in the sample and 56 words were read correctly. So you divide the total number of words read correctly, 56, by 62, and he gave us 0.903. You multiply that by 100 and we've got 90.3. Again, we're going to round up to the nearest whole number, and it gave us the 90% instructional rate. So you have 2 options here. You can use the calculation and conversion table along with the error rate, or you can go ahead and calculate without using the error rate by using this formula. Moving on to determining the self-correction rate, there is a formula for that as well. Self-correction rate is an overall measure of a child's ability to use reading strategies independently. Please note that a rate of 1 to 2 is excellent when they self-correct. A rate of 1 to 3 to 1 to 5 is very good. After that, those numbers, the child is not self-correcting, and it becomes within the poor range. Let's take a look at the formula. To calculate self-correction, you have errors plus self-corrections divided by self-corrections. That's going to give us the self-correction rate. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example. In this particular example here, the child made 6 errors and corrected once. 6 plus 1 equals 7, and then again you divide by the self-corrections, which already we know it's 1. So 1 divided by 7 equals 7. The self-correction rate is expressed as 1 in 7. This means that the child corrects approximately 1 out of 7 errors. Remember what we said over here about our criteria of what constitutes a good self-correction. So if the child is correcting 1 out of 7, we know that the child's not using the the child's not monitoring and self-correcting as he or she should be. So it's a poor self-correction rate. At this point, we're going to show you, well, I want to pause for a minute, sorry. 1 second as I go to this document right here, folks. So we have our, hold on, let me fix this. Oh, well, sorry, I want to grab it. Sorry. All right, it's all right. Here we go. So you have this calculation conversion table. There's no need to memorize the formulas because they're right here for you. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to become with this, as well as then memorizing the formulas in order to determine the error rate, self-correction rate, as well as accuracy. All very important in the final steps to determining the next steps for our students. Okay, thank you.